Hello, this is Doug Tidwell. I was recently sitting in my corner office, admiring the scenery through my floor-to-ceiling windows, when a friend called and asked when the next IBM Cloud intro video would be ready. I said, "I'm posting it right now, King Friday," and here we are. In the first video in this series, you built a simple Node application with a continuous delivery pipeline and a Cloudant NoSQL database. In the second, you took a more advanced version of that application, tied it to your database, and deployed it both locally and in the cloud. In the third video, you used that code with Docker and Kubernetes. We assume you've been through those 3 videos. In this one, you'll take a different approach by using IBM Cloud Functions to handle access to your cloud-hosted database. IBM Cloud Functions is based on Apache OpenWhisk, an open-source platform for serverless computing. The main idea behind serverless computing is that it's wasteful to spin up a virtual machine that does nothing more than host a small piece of code that only gets invoked occasionally. With IBM Cloud Functions, you don't create a server to run your code. You give your code to the system and define the conditions under which your code should be executed. When one of those conditions occurs, the system runs your code. You're charged per invocation, not per hour, so if your code is invoked only occasionally, serverless is far less expensive. And scalability, reliability, and maintenance are handled by the IBM Cloud team. A bit of background. There are 4 concepts in the world of IBM Cloud Functions and OpenWhisk. The first is an action. That's what you'll work with here. An action is just a piece of code. It takes JSON as its input and returns JSON as its output. Simple as that. Next are triggers and rules. A trigger is a name that you've associated with a class of events, and a rule defines what should happen when the trigger fires. For example, you could set up a trigger that fires whenever someone makes a change to a Cloudant database, and an associated rule to call a particular action when that happens. Finally, there are feeds. A feed is something that connects events outside the Cloud Functions environment to a trigger. Now that you know how the IBM Cloud Functions environment works, ignore everything you just learned except actions. You'll create an action that updates a Cloudant database and a small Node app that invokes that action directly when the user registers for a webinar. The user interface looks exactly like the UI from your earlier applications, but the back end is completely different. If you're going to work with a Cloudant database, of course, you'll need to make sure that database exists. Go to the IBM Cloud dashboard and click on the Cloudant database service you created in the earlier videos. If you don't have one, you can create one from the catalog. Once the management page for the Cloudant service opens, click the Service Credentials tab to see the credentials for your service. If there aren't any, click New Credential to create one. Here I have a database service named DougDB with a credential named DougKey. Don't worry about the value of the credential or even its name. IBM Cloud Functions handles those details automatically. With your credentials set up, click the Manage tab, then click the Launch button. This opens the Cloudant console. You should see the webinar database you created earlier. If you don't, click the Create Database button and type the name Webinar. Now it's time to create the action. To the command line we go. To get started, log into your account. Once you're logged in, use the bxtarget command to specify the organization and space you'll be working with. Just as you did in part 2, type bx target-o, the name of your organization, then -s and the name of the space you want to use. Next, install the Cloud Functions plugin for the Bluemix command by typing bx plugin install cloud-functions-r Bluemix. Now you can use the whisk command bxwsk to work with the OpenWhisk APIs used by IBM Cloud Functions. And now for some magic. This just gets better and better, doesn't it? Type bxwsk package refresh. In a few seconds, you'll see a list of packages. Notice that the whisk command created a new package named Bluemix_DugDB_DugKey. The package refresh command looks to see if you have any Cloudant services defined, and it looks to see if those services have any credentials defined. It then creates a package of actions for each credential for each service. IBM Cloud Functions does the same thing for several other services as well, including the weather service, some of the Watson services, and others. It also generates packages for connections you've defined to things like GitHub and Slack. The name of the package, as you probably noticed, is based on the name of the service and the name of the credential. Obviously, if you use something other than DugDB and DugKey, you'll get a package with a different name. So, with a single command, you've created an action with all the code you need to work with your Cloudant service. You'll look at the methods, endpoints, and authentication tokens for that action in a minute. But first, here's a quick word from our sponsor. This video was brought to you by DeveloperWorks Lighting Products Division, proud manufacturers of the Lampulicious line of luxury finials. Do your guests laugh at the lameness of your lamps? Why not shape up your shabby shades with one of our designer finials? In addition to the timeless elegance of monograms, they're available in a variety of styles to match any decor, be it boho, disco, rococo, retro, or even rhino. So, unless you like lounging in lackluster lighting, lift the look of your lamps with a Lampulicious luxury finial. Available wherever light is sold. Wasn't that fun? A special thanks to the hundreds of viewers around the world who requested more rhino-based content in our videos. We hope you enjoyed that. Moving along, we need 3 pieces of information for our web app: the name of the method that creates a new document, the endpoint of that method, and the authentication token we need to invoke the action. By the way, we forgot to go to GitHub to get the code. Do that now. Go to this URL, clone the code, and switch to the DWTV serverless directory. Open the file app.js in your favorite editor. There are 2 variables you'll set. One is the authentication token, the other is the endpoint, which includes the method name. That's as close as you'll come to writing code here. You just need to find those 2 values. Go back to the IBM Cloud dashboard now. Click the menu icon, then select Functions to go to the IBM Cloud Functions homepage. From there, click the Actions link in the menu on the left. That shows the actions you've defined. You'll see the package that you generated via the command line. Click the arrow to see a list of the actions in this package. The method that creates a new document is cleverly named create-document. You can click that method to see the code if you want, but it's not something you have to read, edit, or maintain. What you need is the endpoint for the method. Click the Endpoints link in the menu on the left. click the copy icon to put the endpoint of the service onto the clipboard and paste it into the app.js file as the value of the URL variable. Now for that authentication token. There may be a less ugly way to do it, but the only way I've found to get it is from the command line. Type bxwsk action get, then slash, your namespace, another slash, the package name, a final slash, and the method name, followed by -v to get verbose output. As you can see from that very verbose output, there are 3 parameters your code can pass to the method. The database name and document are required. We'll ignore the params parameter. Scrolling up to the top of the output, though, you can see the value of the authentication header. Copy that and paste it into your code as the value for auth header. Save your code and you're done. But before you leave the editor, scroll down to the bottom to see how the magic happens. As with your other apps, this code uses the express, request, and body parser packages to do its work. When the web form posts a request to the OpenWhisk endpoint, the code fills in the fields for a request and sends it to the action. You defined the URL already, the database name is always webinar, and the document you're storing in the database simply comes from the body of the request. The headers include the value of auth header that you set. From there, the code calls the post method and the OW callback method handles the response. Back at the command line, type npm install to install all of the packages your app needs. Now type npm start and go to localhost 8080 in your browser. You'll see the familiar web form. Fill it in, click submit, then go to the Cloudant console to make sure your document was created successfully. You'll probably have to refresh the display to see it, but it should be there. In this video, we had to go through some conceptual information and some setup tasks, but the actual code involved here is minimal. Once you have the endpoint and authentication token, the code simply fills in the necessary fields and sends a post request to the OpenWhisk action you generated. We encourage you to take a look at the other features of the IBM Cloud Functions platform. For example, you could create a trigger and generate some actions so that creating a new document in your database posts a message to a Slack channel. This 4th video concludes our introductory tour of the platform. You've built apps and deployed them in various ways using containers and serverless computing along the way. Thanks, as always, for watching. We hope this series has given you the expertise, experience, and confidence you need to make the most of the IBM Cloud platform. This is Doug Tidwell saying may all your bugs be shallow. Cheers. Thank you.